A boy once played a harmonica to save his brother's life, until his legs gave out and the rope took it. The man who laughed that day was Frank. Now, 20 years later, that boy is coming back, with a gun, and the same tune. Our story begins at a desolate train station in the middle of nowhere. 3 rough-looking men arrive and take positions around the platform. These aren't just any outlaws. These are Frank's men, killers waiting for someone specific to arrive on the noon train. Finally, the train arrives and departs. But nobody gets off. The 3 gunmen relax, thinking their target didn't show. That's when they hear it, the haunting sound of a harmonica playing a melancholic tune. They turn to find a man standing there, a stranger they didn't see arrive. He's holding a harmonica, and he plays it like it's the last sound these men will ever hear. The leader of the 3 gunmen asks who he is. The stranger responds cryptically, mentioning names of men who aren't there. When asked again who he is, the harmonica man simply says those names couldn't make it, so he brought along 2 friends instead. He gestures slightly. His 2 friends? His revolvers. The gunfight is instantaneous and brutal. All 3 of Frank's men drop dead. The harmonica man walks away without a scratch, his identity a complete mystery. But one thing is clear, he's hunting someone, and he's very, very good at what he does. Now, we need to understand what's really happening in this territory, and it begins with one of the most shocking scenes in Western cinema. Out at a remote ranch called Sweetwater, a man named Brett McBain and his 3 children are preparing for a celebration. McBain is expecting his new bride to arrive. There's food being prepared, decorations being put up, and an atmosphere of joy. His young son runs outside to play. Suddenly, the boy hears a sound. Something isn't right. He cautiously walks toward the barn and finds his father standing completely still, frozen in place. The boy moves closer and realizes why. His father's face is locked in an expression of absolute terror. He's staring at something the boy can't see yet. Then the shooting starts. Gunfire erupts from multiple directions. Brett McBain is cut down instantly. His children are murdered in rapid succession. It's brutal, efficient, and merciless. An entire family is wiped out in less than a minute. The killers emerge from their hiding places around the property. Leading them is a man with ice-cold blue eyes. This is Frank. The young McBain boy, somehow still alive, stares up at Frank. The child's eyes are filled with fear and confusion. He's just watched his entire family murdered. Surely even a killer would spare a child. But Frank doesn't hesitate for even a moment. He raises his gun and shoots the boy dead without a flicker of emotion crossing his face. But Frank isn't just a mindless killer. He's got a plan. Before leaving Sweetwater, he and his men plant evidence at the scene. They leave behind items that will make it look like this massacre was committed by the notorious outlaw Cheyenne and his gang. Frank needs someone else to take the blame for these murders because this wasn't just random violence. This was a calculated assassination with a very specific purpose. Frank works for a railroad baron named Morton, a dying man confined to a wheelchair who is desperate to secure the land around Sweetwater before he succumbs to his illness. You see, Sweetwater has something precious. It's the only water source for miles around, and whoever controls it controls the future of the railroad. Morton wants that land, and Frank is his instrument of death. Enter Jill McBain, the new bride who was on her way to meet her husband. She's a former prostitute from New Orleans who married Brett McBain sight unseen, hoping for a fresh start in life. Jill is beautiful, sophisticated, and completely unprepared for what awaits her at Sweetwater. Jill looks around the platform, searching for someone. Her new husband was supposed to meet her here. Brett McBain promised in his letters that he'd be waiting at the station. As she scans the crowd, she sees no one who seems to be looking for her. No one approaches. No one calls her name. She hopped on a tanga to make her way to her destination, Sweetwater. Leaving Flagstone behind, they ventured out into the vast desert. The terrain is tough and relentless, yet there's an undeniable beauty in its starkness. She has no idea what's waiting for her at Sweetwater. No idea that her husband is dead. No idea that she's riding toward a nightmare instead of a dream. For now, she's just a woman on her way to meet her destiny. The wagon continues along the dusty trail toward Sweetwater. After about 1 hour of traveling through the barren landscape, they approach a small, isolated structure. It's a roadside bar. It's the kind of place where travelers stop for a drink before continuing their journey into the harsh desert. Inside bar, the place is dim and cool, a relief from the blazing sun. There are a handful of men inside. They look up when Jill enters, and once again, she draws stares. A woman like her doesn't belong in a place like this. "Water for the lady," the old man says. "And whiskey for me." After taking some rest, they again started their journey towards Sweetwater. As they approach, Jill sees people gathered at the ranch. Several townspeople, ranch hands, and what appears to be the local sheriff are standing around solemnly in the yard. But what makes her blood run cold are the 4 dead bodies covered with white sheets. The people turn to look at her. Their faces show pity and sadness. They know who she is, the bride arriving to find only death. She walks slowly toward the covered bodies, dreading what she knows she's about to see. The sheriff gestures sadly toward the dead bodies. "I'm really sorry, ma'am. Brett McBain and his 3 children, all murdered. We just found them a few hours ago." An entire family wiped out. Her husband, a man she never met, and his children, all dead before she even arrived. There he is, Brett McBain, a man she married sight unseen, based only on letters and hope for a better future. "Who did this?" she asks. "We found evidence pointing to Cheyenne and his gang," the sheriff replies. "They must have come looking to rob the place." Over the next few hours, Jill watches in numb silence as the townspeople help prepare for burial. They build simple wooden coffins on site. Jill McBain has just buried the family she never truly met. Her husband Brett, the 3 children, all gone before she could even say hello. She's alone now on this remote ranch, hundreds of miles from anything familiar. Now this land is hers, and she's not giving it up. A rider approaches from the east. It's Cheyenne, the outlaw with a heavy bounty on his head. The whole territory believes he slaughtered the McBains, thanks to the long dusters his gang once wore, conveniently left at the scene. But Cheyenne didn't do it. He's come to Sweetwater to set the record straight, and maybe to figure out who's trying to pin it on him. Jill turns. She's been through too much today to trust anyone. He doesn't kill children, and he doesn't work for railroad money. He's here because the real killer is still out there, and that killer will come back for Jill to force her off the land. She asks why he's telling her this. Cheyenne admits the man behind it will try again, and if she stays alone, she won't last long. But Jill stands taller. She's not selling, not running. Cheyenne knew McBain, a decent man with big dreams. This water source at Sweetwater is worth a fortune once the railroad arrives. That's why someone wants it so badly they'd kill a whole family for it. Jill already knows this. Cheyenne tells her straight, staying means fighting. He offers help. His gang owes McBain an old debt, and Cheyenne hates being blamed for murders he didn't commit. But Frank is still riding free. Deep in the desert, on a private train that belongs to the railroad company, we meet the men behind the massacre. That owner is Mr. Morton. He's rich, powerful, but dying fast, lungs failing, body trapped in a wheelchair. His dream is simple: build the railroad all the way to the Pacific Ocean before he dies. Sitting across from him is Frank, the killer with the ice-blue eyes. Frank works for Morton, but he's starting to have his own ideas. He asks Frank about the McBain job. He wanted the land bought cheap, not a family killed. Morton isn't happy. He tells Frank to fix it, get the land without more bodies. Frank agrees, but his eyes say different. He's already thinking bigger than just being a hired gun. He wants the land for himself one day. It's the middle of hot burning day at Sweetwater. Jill is inside the house, keeping herself busy, trying to hold the ranch together. Unbeknownst to her, 2 gunmen are lurking among the rocks and on the ridge. They work for Frank, sent to intimidate her into leaving the land. Harmonica rides in from the desert. He spots the two gunmen immediately, their positions, their horses, their plan. He doesn't rush or slow down. He rides straight toward Jill. Harmonica approaches Jill closely. He speaks to her calmly and directly. Don't panic, but walk toward the water well now. Act normal. Jill can sense the urgency in his voice. She follows his instructions, slowly making her way to the well, bucket in hand. Harmonica stays right behind her. The two gunmen see their opportunity, Jill out in the open, the stranger with her. They quickly mount their horses and charge down toward the ranch. The riders come in fast, horses thundering, rifles raised, ready to fire. Harmonica turns smoothly, drawing his revolver in one fluid motion. 2 shots ring out. Both riders tumble from their saddles, lifeless. Up on the ridge, Cheyenne has been watching the whole scene unfold. This stranger is impressive, too impressive to overlook. From this moment on, Cheyenne decides to follow Harmonica and see where this conflict leads. Jill has a new protector. She thanks him for saving her life and asks who he is. Harmonica doesn't reveal his name. He tells her plainly he's here to find Frank. And Frank is the man who murdered her family. Jill nods. She wants Frank dead too. They devise a plan. Jill will head to town and find one of Frank's men, a jittery guy named Wobbles who works as a messenger. She'll tell Wobbles she wants to meet Frank, claiming she's ready to sell the land and make a deal. It's a trap to draw Frank out. Harmonica will secretly follow Wobbles to discover where Frank is hiding. Jill rides her way to Flagstone. She steps into the laundry, spots Wobbles, and tells him she wants to meet Frank. Let him know the widow is ready to talk business and sell Sweetwater. Deliver my message. Wobbles looks taken aback, but also a bit greedy. He agrees. Wobbles heads straight for Morton's private train in the desert. Harmonica trails behind him, keeping his distance. Inside the train, Frank and Morton are deep in conversation about business. Wobbles hops on board and relays Jill's message. She's eager to meet and ready to sell. But Frank senses something's off. He glances out the window and tells his men that someone's been following Wobbles. Check the train. Harmonica catches up and stealthily climbs onto the roof as the train rolls along. He crawls forward, searching for a way inside. But Frank spots him, and they grab him. They tie his hands, and Frank starts to interrogate him. Who are you? Why did you follow Wobbles? What do you want with me? Tell me your name and everything. Harmonica stays silent, just locking eyes with Frank. Frank strikes him and asks again. Still no response. Harmonica won't budge. Frank's frustration grows, but he knows he's running out of time. Morton reminds him that he's wasting precious moments. They need to find that lady. Frank exits the train, hops on a horse, and rides off. The train continues on, with Harmonica tied up inside, watched over by Frank's men. Meanwhile, Cheyenne has been following Harmonica from a distance since they left the ranch. He's seen it all, the plan, the pursuit, the capture. He watches as Frank rides away. Now it's his turn. Cheyenne catches up to the train and leaps aboard. Inside, he catches Frank's men off guard. A gunfight erupts, shots echo through the air. One by one, Cheyenne takes them down. He finds Harmonica bound and quickly cuts the ropes. Harmonica stands up and nods in gratitude. Looks like we're friends now. They shake hands, two dangerous men united. Frank makes his way back to Sweetwater with a scheme in mind. He plans to force Jill into marrying him, which would give him legal ownership of the land. But Jill isn't easily deceived. She knows exactly who Frank is. After leaving, Frank feels a shift within himself. He starts to question his life as Morton's hired gun. He's taken countless lives, but for what purpose? So a dying man can possess a piece of land he'll never get to enjoy. Frank begins to entertain a risky thought. What if he seized control for himself? The railroad company pressures Jill to sell Sweetwater. They organize an auction right in the heart of Flagstone town, in the main square, with everyone watching. The crowd is aware that the railroad is on its way, but most believe the land is still worthless without a deal. Bids start off low, just a few $100s from local ranchers. Jill sits alongside the auctioneer, while Frank's men are scattered throughout the crowd, ready to intimidate any serious bidders. The price remains low. No one wants to cross Frank. The auctioneer keeps calling out, "Do I hear 500? $500 for this prime land." Then, out of nowhere, Harmonica steps in with the highest bid of $5,000. The crowd is taken aback. Harmonica strides up to the platform. Cheyenne is with him, hands bound, acting like a captive. Harmonica pushes Cheyenne forward and tells the sheriff he's captured the notorious outlaw Cheyenne, the one with the hefty bounty. He collects the $5,000 reward right there, cash exchanged. Jill takes the deed and looks at Harmonica. No words are needed, just gratitude shining in her eyes. The auction has wrapped up. Harmonica's clever use of the bounty money has returned Sweetwater to Jill, completely free and clear. Cheyenne beams, pleased to have played his part. Later that same day, in the main saloon, Harmonica and Jill were talking. Frank steps in and spots Harmonica immediately. He heads straight for Harmonica's table and asks how much it would cost to buy him off, to make him disappear. Harmonica firmly replies that he won't sell the land for any price. Frank threatens that one day he'll kill him. Stepping outside the saloon, Frank finds the street is looking empty. However, a gunman hiding behind a large poster. These are Morton's men, hired guns sent by the railroad boss. Frank doesn't notice the gunman, but Harmonica does. He raises his revolver and fires. Men on the rooftops tumble down, while others in the alleys drop to the ground. The gunfire ceases as quickly as it began. Frank stands in the street, panting, gun still drawn. He turns to see Harmonica holstering his revolver. Harmonica just saved his life, and Frank knows it. Then they finish off the gang. Harmonica saved Frank right in the heart of town. Not out of friendship, but to keep Frank alive until the moment is right, until revenge becomes personal. After taking care of the gang, Frank makes his way to Morton's train. He's ready to take charge. Fed up with being Morton's attack dog, he wants to be the one in control, not just a servant. But when he arrives, he discovers that most of Morton's guards have already been wiped out. Frank confronts his old boss. Morton, weak and dying, finally sees Frank for what he has become, a rabid dog that has turned against its master. Frank leaves him to die slowly by the railroad tracks. As Morton's life ebbs away, he crawls desperately toward a puddle of muddy water, trying to reach it before death claims him. It's a sad and tragic scene. The man who dreamed of owning the West ends up literally drowning in its filth. With Morton dead, Frank feels like he's in control. He has the guns, the men, and the ruthless drive to take whatever he wants. Then he plans to sell it to the railroad for a fortune. But the Harmonica man is waiting. It's time for the final showdown, the moment the whole film has been building up to. The two men face each other in the dusty yard of Sweetwater. The sun beats down mercilessly. There are no tricks here, no ambushes. This is Old West justice at its most pure. 2 men, 2 guns, and only one walks away. Frank is good. He survived this long for a reason. His hand hovers over his revolver, ready to draw. The Harmonica man stands motionless, just staring at Frank. Then in a flash, both men draw. For a split second, time seems to freeze. Then Frank staggers. Blood blooms across his shirt. He's been shot fatally. He drops to his knees, disbelief on his face. He, Frank, the fastest gun in the West, has been beaten. The Harmonica man walks up to him. As Frank is dying, the Harmonica man does something unexpected. He puts the harmonica in Frank's mouth, forcing him to remember. Frank's eyes widen as the memory crashes back. That boy, that ranch, that day he barely thought about. Frank falls dead in the dirt. The debt is paid. The Harmonica man's quest for vengeance is complete. But there's no joy in his eyes. With Frank dead and Morton gone, Sweetwater is finally safe. But what happens now? Jill has proven herself stronger than anyone expected. The Harmonica man also prepares to leave. His business here is finished. He helped Jill because she was an innocent caught in a war between bad men. Cheyenne is wounded, we discover. During the chaos of the recent battles, he took a bullet. He's been hiding it, acting tough, but he's dying. The film ends with a powerful image. The railroad construction continues. Workers stream towards Sweetwater for water. Jill moves among them, providing what they need, taking her place as a crucial figure in the building of the New West.